introducing the show a little bit. Welcome to CS Out Here. We've been deep. We're in episode number 12 already, which is pretty crazy, and we have some awesome guests with us. We have two players from each of the EG squads. We have Munster and Viz coming from EG Party Astronauts, and we have Chop and Axe, who are also part of the Carpe Diem core of EG. Right. So I guess welcome to you guys to the show.
Before we
Thanks for having us.
What's up?
Thanks for having us.
Hey. What's the proper name? Is it EG Party Astronauts or EG Black and White? Just so we can clarify.
Yeah,
it's just EG.
EG.
Yeah, they all go by
the PA and CD stuff is just HLTV.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to clarify. Yeah, all you guys are under the EG tag though officially.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's for darn sure. I think we'll start this off. I guess just some like background behind the players, because I mean, not everyone really knows you guys like personally. Not like I do, right? I'm close. I'm with it, right? But like you guys, like how do you guys start getting playing CSGO? It's always like a really a common question to ask, but everyone has their own unique stories. I guess we can start off with Joe if you're down for it. Of course.
Yeah, sure. Well, I didn't get started until kind of late. I haven't been around for that long, to be honest. In like 2016, I had been playing the game just kind of for fun, and my friends were on a intermediate team, and they didn't have a coach, so they knew I was watching their games when they were on Twitch and stuff. So they asked me if I wanted to just sit in the coach slot so I could watch it live and just like interact with them in the game, just like have fun, because they weren't like super serious. Yeah. But as they started getting better and better, I was like sticking around, joining practices, and actually trying to like help them here and there. So that's kind of just like how I got my start coaching. But I was never a player before that, except casually. So
you are cracked in retakes, though. I'll tell you that. So just like
I've been told I'm a demon in the deathmatch. So.
I can attest to that.
There you go. I mean, for you guys down low, Viz. I mean, where did you get your start, Mr. Florida man? Down there.
So the first time that I ever was introduced to CS, I was actually playing with some of my like close friends some of the first friends that I met on like the PC. They were playing Source, and they're like, "Hey, we have a gun game server on Source. Buy Source, we'll play it." So I'm like, "All right, screw it." I bought Source. It was like $5 on Steam at the time or something, and then just kind of like over time they were like, "Yo, CS is out or CSGO is out. You should buy CS." And then I was like, poor 14-year-old kid at the time. I didn't have money to buy it, so they're like, "Yo, we're gonna buy it for you." And then it's just kind of how it happened.
The whopping $15 price tag, man. Sometimes it gets the best of you. Yeah, dude. Axe and Chop, like is it like crazy? Like, I don't know, family. Sometimes people have their family introduce it to them. I'm not sure about you guys. How do you guys get your start?
I had a real life friend in like 7th grade show me the game, and like I don't know, I just like got addicted to it and just started playing it like fucking crazy. And it was actually kind of crazy because like when we were young, like I got super addicted to playing it, he got super addicted to gambling, and he made like a lot of money gambling. So
CSGO Lounge, man, you love to see it. And Chop, kind of newer-ish to the scene. Maybe you weren't playing CSGO on release, but how did you get started?
I was just a group of friends that I was playing with other games, and then they were like, "Hey, we should all, collectively try this game," and tried it in 2014, and the rest is history.
Are any of them playing now, or are just like long gone?
No. Most of them didn't even really get past the like MM phase of things.
Okay.
Like, they didn't evolve into the Faceit and ESEA level of things, but
yeah, that's dope. I mean, for some background on my end, my favorite Minecraft YouTuber started playing Counter-Strike Global Offensive, so I had to buy it. So that's how I got started. Either way, I mean, so when it comes down to it, like, how did you guys end up teaming up together as well? Because you guys are from two kind of completely different circles. I would say, like, for the PA guys and your squad, how did that really form? Just a couple of years back.
Go ahead, Joe.
There's so many different ways.
Free rein it up.
You do it from your POV, and then I'll do it from my POV.
So I joined up with Ben, Pone, and DJ way back in the day. Like 3 years ago, almost, maybe 3.5 years ago. I can't even remember exactly. And we were just playing MDL at the time, and we were good. We were getting better, slight improvements here and there, and there was just like constant roster changes back then. I mean, even now it still happens, but we were making changes. People were leaving. We got dropped by Whalers because of financial stuff. We got signed by High Coast, and then that didn't work out because of financial stuff. So like through all of those like signings and droppings, we just kind of started picking up new players here and there. We had Wes at some point. I don't even remember if you were there for High Coast or not. Were you?
No, I wasn't.
No. Okay. So after we dropped High Coast, we went back to being party astronauts, and that's when I think we brought Wes in. When we reformed the team, when it was just Ben and Josh left, we brought DJ back in, we brought Wes in, and then we got Gage, yeah, Infinite. So then Gage left for another team. Wes left for a little bit, so we brought in Cynic and John.
Right.
And then we got Wes back after a little while too. So it's just been so many roster changes. I can't even remember the timeline for most of them.
And for you guys over at the CD camp, I know you guys weren't necessarily like founding members of that core. I think that would be like a Hexed question or a Walco question. But you guys got dragged in towards the later end of like 2020 and mid 2021. How did that come to be? How do you guys integrate in that lineup?
Do you want to go first, Tommy, or me?
No, you can go first.
So I was playing on my first season of MDL with a team called Kinship.
Yep.
Which was myself, Clasia, Wolfie, Cobra, and Sean, or Naze. And then that roster transitioned to another roster, blah, blah, blah. We went 3-14. Did awful. Then I was teamless, messaged Walco or Hexed or somebody. I messaged them, wound up getting a tryout, and then, that was, I think, December of 2020. And then it was kind of just consistent progression throughout, I think I've been with them for, I think, like 7 or 8 seasons of Premier now.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Holy shit. That's a lot.
It's almost been 2 years, coming up on 2 years. It's crazy.
Guys have been around forever, for goodness sakes. Yeah. Tommy?
And then I guess for me, it kind of all started when I got cut from Secret Club, because that's where I met Clasia. And then Clasia went and joined RBG, played on them for it was like 6 or 8 months until I joined.
Yeah, around there.
And then I joined, following him to the team. Team ended up cutting him, and then we ended up getting Jitter. I stayed, and here we are like a year later. Tommy's mic is loud plus peaking, by the way.
Alright, I'll lower it down.
That doesn't surprise. Oh, dude, it's probably my webcam.
Oh, no.
It's fine.
Look, his voice is naturally loud plus peaking.
Have you seen his Twitter photo? He's shouting in it. He knows it's gonna be loud.
I hope that's better. It might not be.
I think you sound perfectly fine, Tommy.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think you sound amazing. You know what? Don't talk these haters in chat. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so I joined the team. It was actually like my decision immediately, like to get Jitter, like when we needed a player. So like they were super trusting of me, like immediately when I joined. There's never really like a problem getting like integrated or like welcomed to their like their group or whatever. Like they're friendly little kids. So
we're all young bucks.
Yeah. I would say I'm probably like I probably actually criticized them more than they've ever been criticized. Like when I joined, that probably was like an adjustment period. But other than that, it was pretty smooth sailing.
All right, guys. Thank you for that. We're gonna dive into a couple topics today. We're gonna dive into like the guys to just join EG. We're gonna dive into a little of the tier 2 scene. How can we fix it? And at the end, we're gonna hit back with some laid back questions. So first, we're gonna start off with the EG questions. That's kind of the big topic of the day. So when the EG project got formed like early this year, how did it get formed up on your end? Like, can you give any input on it? Like, how did you guys get signed? What did you guys think about joining a 15-man lineup?
Who wants to go first?
Free ball as much as you want.
Joe, you want to lead since you're the eldest here?
Yeah.
So we were preparing to leave for, I think it was EPL or the RMR. I think it was the RMR when I was contacted by somebody from EG, one of the management people, and they told us that they were interested in creating this project with a couple of teams, and they wanted one of our teams to be one of them. And I was like really shocked because we had been looking for an org for quite a while with literally no success at all. We had been in talks with some orgs, but they just always managed to fall through because a lot of the organizations just weren't willing to give the support that our team was looking for, which wasn't even much at the time. And then suddenly, like right before we were leaving, I think it was like a week before we were set to fly out, EG messaged me. And I went back to the team the next day and I was like, so I just got a really interesting message. EG is interested in us. And everybody was like, joking? Like, what? And so I kind of explained it. And yeah, I mean, back when the talks first started, like the whole like blueprint project wasn't like super planned out yet. It was kind of just like an idea that they had and they wanted to run it by the teams to see if it's something that we'd be interested in being a part of. And after talking about it within the team a little bit, we all decided like this is actually like a really good opportunity for us. It's not really something that we have a chance to pass up on. Like the place that we were in.
Who was the guy that outreached to you? Was it like the CEO, like Valens, anything like anyone you can say?
It was Chris, is one of the managers at EG. He's kind of like in charge of like contract stuff and negotiations with teams and whatnot. He's like their guy for that. And then I also spoke with someone named Danny, organization too, another manager.
I think he's around Twitter and stuff.
Yeah, you probably see him around interacting with people in this space. Yep. Yeah, no, they were super cool people, super easy to talk to, willing to answer all the questions and everything. And I mean, obviously, like this was something that a lot of people didn't know how it would work out, so there was a lot of questions going into it, but they addressed everything, and everybody was really happy with what was presented to us. So it was kind of just smooth sailing once they reached out.
I'm just wondering, did you know that Carpe Diem were also going to be signed when they reached out to you?
At the time, no. We had an idea of like which other teams they might be interested in, but they didn't. They hadn't told us specifically which other teams it would be. First.
So that brings us to the other topic. How did you guys end up getting contacted over there at the Carpe Diem camp?
I got this, Connor. I mean, yeah, we always knew.
Okay.
We always knew EG was going to message us because we were the only like candidate team for an academy team in like all of North America. So unless you're going to build a team from scratch, like just based on average age, like it had to be us.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess from there, like there was always like, you know, like I don't know, Hex got a message like a super long time ago, and then we got a message like I think it was in like early March from Andy Barton asking us like if we would want to like sit down for a meeting and talk. And at that point, I think it was only us. We had no idea about PA. And then as time went on, like I think like maybe there was a change of plans or something, and it formed into, instead of academy team, multiple academy teams. They don't really like to use the word like academy team, but you know, now it's the Blueprint project, and it's, I mean, basically like what Joe said, like it's an opportunity like we just never had before. So it's like, you know, the opportunity to have a tier 1 org support you, be able to travel, get a salary, and everything else that EG's offered us is just like, you know, you don't really get that if you're signing with like Vireo Pro or something like that.
Right.
Saying that you're an academy team, you think can you guys compete like in the Wii Play tournaments and stuff like that?
Well, now that we have Russian Stanislaw, we are too old technically.
Too
but
old. All right.
yeah, before we definitely could have. Yeah.
Now this idea of like a 15-man lineup, like what's your viewpoint of like of it saving like NACS, like the tier 2 scene? Do you think other orgs are gonna kind of do this? Like, what's your prospect on it?
Go ahead, Connor.
I personally, I think it's too early to tell if other orgs are going to adopt the same, like, style and approach, because, we're what, I think close to 3 months in. I think other orgs will need a lot more time to kind of examine the process and the overall benefits. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. And I think it's also another thing you have to consider is like the viability of the teams that are out there, because like obviously EG scooped us and PA up, probably arguably like I think probably the two best like free agent teams or rosters at the time, like when they were looking for people. So I think that's also something to consider. But yeah, I definitely think in the future it probably will happen.
I think it's overall good for. Sorry for cutting you off, but I think it's.
Go ahead.
I think it's overall like really good for like the developmental process of NA as well, because we do have a lot of younger players on the roster. I mean, you look at Chop, you look at Walko, you look at Jarek or Wiz. Like these guys are. I mean, yeah, me too. I don't feel young, but it's definitely like a huge stepping stone for all of us. I group myself in there because I'm still kind of young in comparison, but it's definitely a huge like developmental thing. So it's definitely really good for the ecosystem.
Yeah. Now the go correlate this, like you guys explain kind of being part of this lineup. How is it different from like another like a PA, like when you're on just your own 5-man team?
It's night and day different.
Can you elaborate?
I mean, coming from being on PA, like it's not. I mean, Joe can attest to this. We didn't have anywhere near the support that we have now. Like maybe we had like certain like. Can we even talk about that? Like maybe we had certain like demo reviewers reaching out to us, like offer us that support, like that level of support, but it was nowhere near like salary. We're getting to work around each other all the time, like being at boot camps, etc. Where talking with Soham, absolute genius of a person. Like it's all laid out for us to be successful, and that's just something we never really had before.
Yeah, before when we were just PA, it was basically all on us, to figure it out. And as a team of people who never really experienced like being part of an organization that's willing to support you in that sense, it's like I guess aside from John and Ben, like they were part of Chaos for a while and stuff like that, but the rest of us is like we're kind of figuring it out as we go, and just seeing what works and what doesn't work. Whereas like being a part of EG, we have like layers and layers of support staff, like Wes was talking about, like Soham. We have like somebody to help us with the mental aspect. We have like actual doctors, like that are helping us like be healthy and show up on match days and feel good and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, just the layers of support behind us just relieve so much stress. There's people that have accomplished things in the game already, so they have good ideas about like what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. So we're not sitting here like trialing and error, like every little thing. Like we have like people who are willing to lay out like a kind of a roadmap or like a game plan for us, and we just kind of have to be open-minded, hear them out, and just try and put into practice what they tell us.
And you also you don't understand the difference in mentality coming from like we were. I mean, this is something that John G has talked about before, but like we're coming from we're having to win events in NA, like Cash Cups, like place well in all of these events to even support ourselves, and now we're going to EG, and it's like now we just have all of that stress of having to win completely just thrown out the window. Obviously the goal is still to win, but it's more so like now we don't have to win. We could more focus on like linear progression and making sure that we're getting better and better consistently over time instead of just winning this event because we need the money to pay our bills.
Like it's the difference is like you can play much more difficult tournaments where okay, you're not gonna win the darn thing. You don't have to think about the paycheck though, so you can go ahead and fight out in these qualies and all that stuff, and fight out in the Pinnacle Cup adventure. We'll probably talk about that a little bit later, but at the end of the day, it's some of your guys' first international events, so it's still super early days where you don't have to focus on waiting for your next meal. And I think that's such a big deal for a team like you guys coming up through the ranks.
Yeah. I mean, definitely.
100%.
Right before we signed, it was actually getting for me personally, getting kind of close to the point where it's like, I don't know if I can do this for much longer, like compared to everyone else, like I'm kind of older. Like I still have, I decided to take time off from school to coach Party Astronauts full time. So I was starting to consider going back to school, going back to work, there wasn't really a lot left in terms of just like events that we could win a lot of money from. It was like a couple things here and there, but it wasn't paying the bills. So if EG hadn't reached out, I don't even know where I'd be like right now. I might not even be coaching anymore. So they kind of saved me there.
Has any other orgs reached out at all besides EG?
When we were playing as Party Astronauts, yeah, we had a few, but nobody like major, nobody willing to actually give us anything like useful. Like the most was just like a few $100s a month, and it's like that doesn't help anybody.
Yeah,
it's like league fees are like at the level that we were at, like paying our league fees and giving us like graphics packages and stuff. Just it doesn't cut it. Like that doesn't help us at that point.
And for Carpe Diem, it's the same thing. Anyone reach out to you guys?
We talked to some pretty big name orgs, but nothing got like concrete. Because we were young and like the We Play stuff was like developing. I think that gave us like a pretty good thing to like start with.
On another front, just in a more technical lane, what are you guys like really meant to compete in? I think from what I've heard, it is kind of for clarification. You guys are, at least for the XPA guys, you guys are set to compete in a lot of the qualifiers, and CD set to compete in the ACL. How does that change the team dynamic for you guys?
I can kind of touch on this. So we have the current EG roster playing at Blast right now. They are the roster that gets like the big three, right? Like all the partner spot stuff and the major qualifiers. And then everything else after that is kind of just like constantly up for discussion. We forfeited ECL, so that's the Tommy's and Chop's team. That's their stuff. And then every other event other than ECL is kind of just something that we all are constantly talking about with like management, Soham, and all them, just to figure out like what creates the most fair like event schedule for everybody, because obviously we all want to play. Like nobody is signing to an org saying like, oh, I'm just gonna be here and not play anything. Like everybody's eager to compete. We're all young and hungry players here, so yeah, it's just something that's always being talked about. Right now it was decided that we got the Melbourne quali while we were boot camping, and then they were playing the ECL season, and then also Cash Cups on top of that. And then every event in the future that's coming up is just gonna be something that we have a discussion about, and then will be announced once we come to a conclusion.
Your question was, how does it change the team dynamic? I don't think it changes the team dynamic really in any way, because you still show up every day to like do your job, which is to play every day and like leave that day better than yesterday. So, I mean, I guess like for us, we've had like a pretty big impact in terms of like our team dynamic, because we obviously swapped 2 players right now. Hext is at Blast. Rush is there with him right now. Stanislaw actually has like a wedding coming up. So like for us right now, like our team dynamic, like we're still like, figuring out like who we are as a team. Not really, honestly, because of this project. So it's not like this project's fault or anything like that. Like we're fucking thrilled to be playing with Stanislaw and Rush. Anyone would be. So, in terms of team dynamic, like I don't think it changes really at all. I just think that like it's a new level of like professionalism that's expected every day.
Speaking of lineups, I want to hit on it. Can you guys like change lineups? Like, for example, Chop go to the main team if it needs to be done, or vice versa. Like, how does that work out?
Yeah, I mean that can happen. It's already happened. Hex has been called up.
Yeah.
I don't really want to say like Rush got moved down because Rush had the option to play with us. Like we wanted Rush and Rush wanted to play with us. Rush wanted to be part of like a project, a stable, growing thing, and you know, of course we wanted to play with Rush. And the same things with, you know, for Stanislaw, like he wanted to play with a young growing core who wants to take time. And I mean, you know, our team's been together forever.
Yeah.
So we lost a core member in Hex, but you know, the other 3 members have still been playing together for kind of how long, like 17, 18 months.
Yeah, I think just under 2 years for me, and then Wiz and Walka have probably been together at least 3.5. They might
3-4 years now.
4.
Jesus, yeah. Like I think it was like mid 2019, so like coming up like just past 3 years.
Yeah.
I get the Rush the Stanislaw Rush joining like the CD lineup. I kind of get that as like how like Taco in the Brazil molding the young guys up. I kind of like seeing that. Do you guys have that feeling? He's like molding.
It's
the
really
talent.
Yeah.
It's really common in I mean it's common everywhere other than NA.
Yeah.
Everywhere other than NA. In North America, the thing is that like once players weren't pro, they weren't getting salaries, so they turned their streams on. They played FPL every night, and they stopped competing. Like majority of them, like there were not really like tons and tons of players that like constantly gave back to like the tier 2 and tier 3 scene in North America. And like for me, for example, like when I started playing, like, you know, Ocean had, you know, a premier roster that he had forever that turned into an advanced team that he had forever, and he, you know, pipelined like 30 fucking players. Like I played with James IRL, who went to go play with, you know, 15 more players that went on to play in Premier, and just like there's so many other like older players that were able to kind of like set like a foundation for like younger players like coming up. Like Obo, for example, was a player obviously a lot of people were just talking about, but he got to play with he had 2 coaches, David and Jeremy 9000, like basically like helping him like the whole way up. So it's just like that's like a thing that lacks now in NA, is like those older people that kind of, you know, lead you.
Like we also had Shake, you know, Shake Azula on. He kind of does the same project too. Like he kind of helps mold younger guys too as well. So it's good to have like some people not just being egotistical and actually helping young guys out, because that's how CS grows. It's like a sport, you know. That's how I get it from.
Yeah. I think it's also that Stan and Rush are in a unique position here at EG where like they don't have to sacrifice being part of a tier 1 organization to be able to, you know, develop that talent. Like what was happening before is like a lot of players would lose their spots on like top teams, and if they couldn't get a spot on another top team, they would just kind of go off the grid. But now they're still able to, you know, use a position inside of an org to help, you know, develop the talent. So, but to touch on your original question, is the idea is like we don't want to make changes during developmental phases. That's like not the goal. That means like anytime a roster move is made, like we don't want to have to make a change anytime soon. We want to give the people and the teams and the players like a chance to see if it works out, and then, you know, depending on how things work out, if there's issues, if things don't mesh well, that's when changes start getting talked about. So obviously, if there's like circumstances that require a change, like what happened with Automatic needing to take a couple days off, like
that's different.
That's a little bit different. But other than that, it's like the goal is to avoid making changes. Like right now, our team just qualified for Melbourne, so we want to give ourselves the chance to, you know, see how this affects our team, see how this develops our team before we even consider making any changes at all. So that's sort of the goal. That's the idea of the process.
But is it going to be kind of hard knowing that like any time your roster can be changed and one of your players can get moved up to like the Automatic lineup? Is it kind of hard to see that?
Is that
it's not like any moment though. That's the thing. Like it's something that gets discussed for a while. You know, like if it's a consideration, like the players will know about it like well beforehand. It's not something we just spring on the players like the day before.
Oh, that would suck. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
I feel like that's also something that's not necessarily unique just to this like new project. Because I mean, you think of any 5-man roster. If you're playing well and then you think like you fast forward a couple months and you're not playing well and something needs to change, what happens? You make your roster change. You pick somebody else up. So.
Yeah, definitely.
And to hit on some of the tournaments you guys mentioned, like the Carpe Diem lineup is playing an ESL Challenger, right?
Yeah.
And then the PA lineup, they can't do that, so it's only one team that does that.
No, they can. They're submitted. We have a big all roster. We have an army.
We have an army.
You have an army.
Yeah. I mean, at any moment, if it's necessary, we can sub players in and out. It just comes down to like roster or schedule conflicts and such.
I think the Gaimin Gladiators have you beat on that one, unfortunately. No matter how many players you can assemble, they will always have the 20-man roster.
That's true.
I know. Before, I want to hit a little on the scrims. So, like, obviously, we're not going to break down what you guys scrim about, but like the concept is like let's say like Carpe Diem wants to practice one map. Do you guys scrim against each other and kind of like counter strat? That type of deal.
To an extent, yeah. Like if we have certain things we like need to work on, we could explain. But I mean, we can talk about like the things that aren't necessarily scrims to like a small detail like level. Like the easiest way to explain the things we do that aren't scrims is it's essentially like all the things you've done in the server work and theory work, like just trying to dry run against your teammates and stuff. It's like you just have a whole nother team that's just right there ready to dry run and just keep going and going and going and going, like as because once you do the round once, you hit a button, you start again, you go, like that's what dry running is. You kind of beat a dead horse until everyone remembers it. So it's like if you have two teams kind of just constantly flowing like different ideas against each other, like it creates like I guess like a faster paced practice. That's just like a different style, really. It's just dry runs. Like dry runs have always been really important.
And
we have a drill system that isn't like super expansive right now, but it's something that we're constantly like trying to develop and work on, where we can just target focus like a really specific stuff and just keep repeating that same thing over and over again with each other until we're comfortable with the result or with what we learned from it. And the same thing can be said about scrims, like because this was really easy, especially when we were both in Seattle boot camping, since we were both in the same building. But we were able to just book scrims whenever we wanted with each other, if the time was available. So like the way scrimming in NA is right now, like you're limited to 1 hour blocks, like at the start of the hour to the end of the hour. But it makes it really easy to have a flexible schedule when the other team can literally just start at any minute. Like we don't have to wait until the hour to start. We can start at like 10 or 15 or 26. Like it doesn't matter. So just having another team that's able to focus drills and focus scrims with makes it super easy to see noticeable progress.
So
very quickly.
I'm rocking NFL jersey, so I'm gonna bring up the same correlation. It's like you guys are like one's the main lineup, you guys are your practice squad, and you're just kind of like drilling each other on different stuff.
Yeah,
they got that
exactly.
All right, perfect. And I want to hit on something because you guys were talking about scrims. Like I know the PA lineup just played against ATK for the Melbourne qualifier, and you guys didn't permaban Vertigo, and you guys you're practicing with your guys, and you guys beat them. Can you talk about that?
Take that one less.
I mean, well, yeah. Playing Vertigo has always been something that we've wanted to kind of do, and it's definitely something that as soon as the Blueprint project was kind of in the pipeline, we were like, "Yo, Carpe Diem, these guys are pretty good at Vertigo. Like, it's not a map that they're horrible at. It's actually one of like their better maps." They hate hearing that, but it is one of their like 3 best maps. Yeah, but every time I tell your teammates that it's one of your best maps, it's always some argument with you guys. But you guys are honestly insane on it. But yeah, basically, instead of me rambling, we were just like one day, hey, we want to learn Vertigo, and then we just got a nice little crash course from Tommy and Walco and some other players that especially me, like Chop taught me. I think it was Chop. Was it you, Chop, that taught me some stuff for
I don't
B
think it
on
was
CT
me.
side?
No, that would have been Tony.
Yeah, it was Tony. Yeah, Tony taught me some stuff for B, and then just it's way easier to learn new things whenever you have people that have experience in those things guiding you along the way. And that was definitely like one of the best things that could have happened for like the whole Blueprint project. But yeah, we were just like, hey, we want to play Vertigo. They taught us it, and then we kept like getting reps in and practice, scrimming whatever teams that we could get at the time, because it really was not that good. And we just got really comfortable on it over time. I think it was like 2 weeks maybe, or a week and a half of us playing it.
Yeah,
and we just got like we were just really comfortable on it naturally. And then the grand finals came around and we were like, hey, let's just ban Ancient. So yeah.
And that
Turn 'em
honestly,
off a
that
little
turned out for you guys really, really good.
Oh,
yeah, no, we were super happy with our first Vertigo result. Yeah, like Wes was saying, like just being able to drill and scrim a team that we don't have to worry about like them learning how we're playing, like we can just throw everything at them and see what works and what doesn't work, and then they can tell us what was good and what we need to improve on, and then also give us their like stuff that works for them, like it makes the process of like developing the maps so much faster. Like within a week of deciding that we want to add Vertigo into our map pool, like we were already comfortable on the map. It was super quick.
Kind of like it's the major cycle again, and I think everyone in this call knows that you guys can definitely push for the RMR, but having to sit on the sidelines and watch, how does that make you feel? Just because, look, CS players, everyone's goal kind of is to make the major at some rate.
It was the expectation. Like when we got into this project, like that was one of the first things that was brought up, is that obviously there's a conflict of interest in a lot of events, and for this opportunity, like it was something that was discussed for a while within our team. Like, are we willing to make this sacrifice? And we all came to a unanimous decision. Obviously, it had to be unanimous, because if one person disagreed, then we can't force them to be a part of it. So we waited until it became unanimous after a lot of discussion, and we just decided that we were willing to make that sacrifice of not being able to play this cycle or the next cycle, and that's just how it's going to be. And yeah, I mean, it sucks not being able to play in it, but we came to terms with that when we first agreed to sign.
From the CD guys, anything?
I think Joe hit on the head, to be honest. I mean, it sucks to not be able to play in those events and try to qualify for the major, because like you said before, that's kind of like what that's like everybody's goal. But at the end of the day, I think for our team, it was more of just like you need to kind of look at the greater picture. That like, okay, sure, we might be forfeiting the RMR qualifiers in the major, but like we're going to be getting signed to a tier 1 org. We're going to get ridiculous resources, support. They'll give us opportunities that we wouldn't have had if we hadn't signed. And I think the negatives from missing that event are greatly outweighed by the positives of just being under EG.
Yeah, the way I'd explained it to my team was like, think of it as sacrificing short-term opportunities for so many more long-term opportunities. Like, yeah, we're giving up the major for like the next 2 or 3 cycles, but we're going to get, like Chop was saying, like so many resources to improve us to the point where come time when we actually can start trying to qualify again, we get that opportunity, like we'll be so much better and in such a better position to actually qualify. So
I mean, even thinking back to whenever we did play at the RMR, what was that, 3 months ago, Joe?
4 months ago? Yeah, 4 months ago.
Like, we're just a completely different 5-man roster now in comparison to then. And if this is like the growth that we can expect over just 4 months, 5 months, then who knows what's gonna happen a year from now, so on.
Yeah. Do you think you would have taken down Imperial now rather than back then?
100%.
Hell yeah, brother.
Out in my mind.
I mean, we were hella close to that one pesky eco round, man.
Deagle's up cat, it never fails.
Yep.
BR Deagle.
Half a map away from the major. Badge.
I was up at 3 a.m. watching that shit. I'll tell you that. So
the crazy thing is, like, even though we didn't qualify, like, we came out of that, like, still so happy for ourselves and so proud of what we, like, almost managed to do and how well we were playing. Like, we started that event off kind of rough, but once we found our groove, like, we were killing it. Like, people were fragging, the comms were great, the attitudes were great. Like, that event was just, like, a massive growth experience for us, and it set us up really nicely for this Blueprint project, because we all knew now going into EG, like, at the time, like, at that point we knew what we were capable of, and it just came down to the work that we were willing to put in to reach it again.
I'm gonna move a little off the EG topic, because I want to hear your guys' take on some other stuff on tier 2. How can we improve it and stuff like that? But first, before you guys joined EG, did you guys like ever consider just quitting CS and moving over to Valorant?
100%. I did.
Never Valorant, no.
I did.
I will say 100%. I thought about it multiple times.
I hate that game.
That game's dog shit.
I don't hate the game or think it's bad. I just, like, at my age and where I was in life, like, if I ever were to quit CS, like, learning a completely new game from the ground up, I don't think I'd be willing to do it. So I just never even considered it. I convinced myself that if I were to ever quit CS, I would just go back to school, and that would just be my next thing.
Because some of your former teammates and other, fellow teammates as well left CS for the paycheck than Valorant. Like, does that, like, would you guys ever consider maybe even for the paycheck?
I wouldn't say it was for the paycheck. There's definitely an opportunity. Yeah. And it's like you have to also consider, like, a lot of those people are just competitors, and they didn't see an opportunity to really compete at a high level anymore in CS. Like, if you look at the way tier 2 is right now, it's like there's not much going on in NA. Like, you have ECL and you have some cash cups, and there's a quali here and there, but those are super cutthroat, and, like, majority of tier 2 teams don't even, like, really stand a chance of qualifying for those bigger events, like the ESL Challenger events, like Melbourne and stuff. So it's like they just saw an opportunity over in Valorant to still compete at the highest level. So I don't blame them for taking it at all. And I have a lot of friends over there still. Yeah.
Now, this is a thing, because Riot, Tencent always has the same strategy of franchising their game, and they're gonna do it with Valorant. When that happens, do you think some of those guys on those smaller teams are gonna come back to CS?
I think there's a chance.
Possible.
Maybe, but I don't think it would be like as many people as maybe you would expect.
It'll be nothing like when people came back from, like, Overwatch or anything like that. Like, it won't, nothing like that. People are probably, because that game right now is just bigger, like, overall, and I mean, it's not, I don't want to say bigger in the media, but it's child friendly. It's easier to market. It's just
casual friendly.
Yeah, casual friendly. I mean, for their streams, for their personal brand and stuff, like, Valorant's it's growing, like, a lot and fast. It's new. That's kind of the big thing about it, is that it's new. People like new. Counter-Strike's really old. Until Counter-Strike does eventually have, like, a serious, like, big update, it's kind of hard to, like, market it towards, like, a casual gamer, just because at this point it's old. So
Boomer game.
I mean, fucking Jason R just started to come back, and he's streaming FPL, like, at 2 or 3, 4 in the morning. Like, it's kind of crazy to even think that games are going on at those times, but that's the power of having, like, a brand in the region. Like, he's there, he's playing, so now people are playing as well.
I know for myself, I always thought that franchising was gonna completely decimate the Valorant scenes, more specifically like the tier 2 Valorant scene. Just because, like, you think there's a limited number of spots for the main league, then there's probably be another, like, limited number of spots for the Challenger League or the Academy League. But I think, honestly, the way that they set it up, they did it right. I do not think as many orgs are gonna leave Valorant as much as I thought initially. So you might see a handful of people come back, but, like, I don't think it's gonna be, like, a ridiculous amount, to be honest.
It's not going to be like the second wave, like
no,
like,
definitely not.
And it just gets reborn in a new light.
The thing about franchising is, like, initially, like when it's first implemented, it's like really cutthroat for the top tier orgs, right? So it's
Right.
like
Yeah.
that some people are going to make it and some people aren't. But if you look at it, like we have franchising in CS, and like long term, like it does help with the game's longevity. So like yeah, we may see some orgs like back out or some teams like leave, but you'll probably see a period where like people are still competing, and it's kind of just like orgs kind of rethinking things like, okay, where do we stand in Valorant? Like, do we want to stay in the tier 2 scene, maybe become like a talent development, or like you know, like orgs who like pick up players and then sell them to better orgs like we kind of have in CS right now. It's like I think that'll start happening like after a couple of years. Like we'll definitely see orgs back out and then come back later in the future. And same with players. Like players might take a break, but after they see the tier 2 orgs come back, they might go back. So yeah, like we said, I don't think a lot of players are going to change, but it's definitely possible, like come back.
I mean, from my perspective, who's been kind of, you know, 1 foot in one scene and 1 foot in the other, I've kind of seen NA, at least tier 2 Valorant, kind of just implode a bit. I believe there are like at least 7, like 4, 5, 6 orgs who just instantly drop their lineups. Of course, it's all a temporary thing. I'm not saying it's going to cause a second wave, but you know, the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, with Valorant compared to CS, the thing is like they don't have a lot of tier 2 events, so
that's true.
It might have a little bit like more of an impact, the franchising, but if they can start hosting, like if we get more NSG events, like slightly larger NSG events, or maybe even like some other tournament organizers come out of the woodwork and start hosting events for the tier 2 scene, like I think that's what's going to keep the tier 2 Val scene alive, just like it's kind of keeping CS afloat. Like without the tier 2 events in CS, like
yeah,
the scene would not be
there's nothing there. And that honestly,
yeah.
that's honestly what fuels EU Counter-Strike, to be honest, is the tier 2 events. It's what's made like these upset teams like Copenhagen Flames like relevant.
Exactly.
Say again?
Yeah.
I said Finest. Those guys
Finest, yeah,
are just
exactly.
grinders in the online tier 2 EU, and they're just fucking insane.
They're just open qualifier wizards. Yeah, like those kind of people, right? And we just don't have that here in NA. That's just the tough stuff. And Valorant is starting to already kind of lose ground on that front. I think they announced they were coming out with the tier 2 at least circuit, but Valorant stuff can hold out for a little bit. This is the Nart Out Here, the CS Out Here podcast, not the Val Out Here podcast. Yeah. We'll hit back on that in a bit. Nico's gotten back, and for the one thing, there's been a couple of articles and statements going around on Twitter on how to improve the tier 2 scene in North America. Do you guys have any ideas on what's the first thing that comes to mind that needs to be fixed here in North America?
The egos. That's the first one.
Yeah, Wes, lose the ego, dude.
I think it starts in the...
You see, you know what's actually hilarious about that? I swear everybody thinks that I have like the biggest ego out of every like upcoming player in NA, but I really don't. I don't think at least.
Sounds like someone with an ego would say that. I'm not sure.
It's obviously Nart who has the biggest ego because every single smoke lineup out there. Come on, we all know that.
I think it starts in the pug hubs. I think like I'm not gonna like say Mythic Diamond is a problem or anything like that, but like I think in like those pug hub like systems that all lead into like FPLC into FPL, I think like the system is really focused on individual performance, your stats. Nobody in there really cares to like be a teammate. They just want to be the top brag, the star player. It's kind of like where like the ego stuff starts to happen as well, because then people realize like there's like a hierarchy of better and worse players. So then people then use like that stuff to kind of I want to say like skip steps, but like like most people started in open and then played in intermediate and main and advanced and like had to like work their way through a lot of divisions and stuff like that. And it's like really easy in North America to just be like 15 or 16 and just kind of like just get pulled up to, not that advanced is like a super high division or anything, but just like get pulled up into advanced and then just kind of like develop really bad habits just trying to get kills. That's like one thing a lot of people only really focus on in this region is how to get kills and getting kills.
I think the whole like improved tier 2 scene is kind of just like a giant catch-22 in a sense, where it's like yeah, the player attitudes and mentalities are kind of bad right now, like at a low. But for them to like want to try and to want to grind and improve, like they need something to play for, and there really isn't much to play for. So we kind of need more events. But tournament organizers aren't willing to give us those events because there aren't a lot of teams, because there aren't a lot of players who are willing to push for that level. So it's just kind of just like a vicious cycle of, we need improvement from both sides, but we need one side to improve for the other side to improve, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know. Initially, like, I think tournament organizers and like event hosts and stuff just kind of need to bite the bullet, and just like take a risk and just host events at a loss in North America, and just like kind of think of it as an investment into the scene. Like, we're going to host these events and we're going to hope that long term it's going to, bring attention back to the scene, maybe bring some orgs back. Like, there's something that they can sign a team to play in. And then that'll give the players at the lower levels something to play for, so they actually want to improve and actually want to have good attitudes and mentalities. But yeah, I'm not really an expert, so I don't even know if that would work.
There's been some articles from like Koi, Semler, and like Assad. Like, you guys hit on some points of like more cash cups, more events in NA. How about the idea of like a collegiate program or like academy? First, we'll start off with the collegiate program. Would that considerably help?
I don't think so.
Like I said earlier, like when I was coming up, there were people to like be role models and like kind of like set an example or like a standard. It depends on who's setting that standard for you. Like you can't just have like any random player just telling you like certain things about the game.
Go ahead. Sorry, I thought you were done. I was just saying, don't get me wrong. Like, I think collegiate CS and just like the whole like collegiate esports I think it's a fantastic idea, but I don't think collegiate CS, it's like specifically, is at the level where it could directly impact tier 2. I think really the only collegiate team that's kind of just starting to like reach the surface of playing Premier is Davenport. So I feel like that kind of section needs to they need to go through a lot more of like a development process to like get a lot more teams to play at a super high level. But yeah.
So what Connor is kind of saying also isn't like, this question isn't really like new by any means. Like, this has been a thing since like, I don't even know, like 2018 maybe. Like, there was RMU, which had like easily the best collegiate team for years. Like, it was Welshie, Spermy, Koga, Reality, and I don't remember the fifth. It just completely escapes me. But they were, like an advanced playoff team. I think maybe even like MDL relegation. Like, they were a good team. Like, the college scene has been around in NA for a really long time, and Davenport's like the first to be playing in Premier actively while they're a collegiate team. But in terms of like the collegiate system, like pushing NA forward or anything, like I've played in the collegiate league myself. Like, yeah, I played with a group of like open players, and just like I can see like there's no standard in that league at all. Like, there's teams that show up and practice and want to play it, and their school supports them, and then there's a lot of schools where it's just like a random, it's a club. It's not even supported by them. There's no like backing. They're not even on campus. Like, they're satellite campus students, playing from home and stuff. So, like if there was like a serious like backing where players actually had like opportunities to like consistently play for, like a scholarship or reduced tuition, like anything, like literally anything, like I think that can help a lot, just because like the work ethic part is really big.
And there's also does anyone else have anything to say?
I mean, I was gonna jump in and say that I don't think even the system has been that fleshed out in terms of like, moving players to the next level, because I always see like individual players just bounce between collegiate teams just because they can just hop in for some competition or things like that. It hasn't really been established as like I mean, now we can all compare ourselves to Riot Games and what they do, but like, say for the League of Legends collegiate system, it is very set in stone. Like, there's no like authority. It's kind of like the Wild West in terms of collegiate leagues. Because again, to the point that you brought up, is that schools don't really back their Counter-Strike esports scene. Or mostly it just like kind of ran out of a club, which is not really that whole thing. I think that's why the collegiate scene kind of struggles at the moment, just because there is no like overlying overseeing authority over the scene to make it a bit more professional and, you know, encourage that work ethic that you were talking about.
I was gonna say one thing I think that is like really cool about the collegiate scene is, though, like, although like my collegiate teammates aren't like amazing players or anything, after my little bit of time with them in collegiate, like, I'm pretty sure all of them made advance within a year, just because like we actually did like practice for collegiate like a very little bit and play, and like I think like just seeing like that style like kind of help them like maybe bring some of those things like into their like their next teams. And you know, like they grinded for like a year to be able to make advance, like, you know, they fast tracked it a little bit, which is pretty cool.
Regarding collegiate CS, I think it's still like a long way from, like Chop said, having an impact in tier 2. Like, I think it's great that they're giving these players a lot of like an opportunity and like a safety net while also being in school. But like in a utopia, you know, like the collegiate CS model will reflect the collegiate football model in America, or like the collegiate basketball model, where it's like that's where the best players come from. But right now, the way CS is structured is like most of the best players that actually have a shot at making pro won't see like collegiate CS as that step towards becoming an actual pro player. So they'll likely like avoid collegiate teams unless they're more interested in, you know, using that as a way to get a degree. So as it stands right now, like collegiate CS definitely needs a lot more time to develop before I think it can actually have like a big impact. But that being said, like I think what like the work they're doing over at Davenport, like they're taking a lot of risks and they're making a lot of strides in that area, and I think it's exactly what they need right now. So I think they should just keep doing what they're doing and keep pushing the boundaries.
One thing Joe kind of said, like about the development, that made me think of the way CS is set up doesn't really support anyone in like school traditionally right now, because like you can't really just like take time off of school like in the middle of a semester to just go to Europe or, you know, boot camp somewhere in NA, or, you know, like the work schedule with school even can get like really hectic with practices and matches and wanting to have a stream and, you know, maintain individual performance. Like it's a lot. Like it's really fucking hard. So
there's also like how, you know, Koi's huge with Davenport University. He's been trying to contact Team Liquid, trying to pair up Davenport with like a Liquid. Is there like any way to find a gap between collegiate and pro CS at all, or you think it's still a long way ago?
I mean, it's Counter-Strike, so it's like if you can. I mean, you saw Lige, he joined the server and literally helped them, like did a demo review with him and everything. Like I know for a fact that they talked to Moses. Like it's Counter-Strike at the end of the day. Like use your resources. Like you'll never know unless you just reach out. Like that's like the easiest thing to do is just reach out and try to create like those relationships with whoever.
I think
just ask for help.
I think in tier 2 NACS, there isn't really much room for like an academy system right now, because there aren't really many teams. Like all the best teams aren't going to be willing to sign up for an academy program because they're not going to want to sacrifice, you know, spots in other events. And then, you know, having big orgs, like if they do want an academy team, they'd probably want a team that's capable of competing in like a WePlay academy, which means that the skill level in collegiate likely just isn't there yet for competing in like an EU WePlay league. Like unfortunately, that's just like the way it is. So they likely wouldn't make that kind of partnership. But I can see like a team, like an org like Team Liquid, willing to allocate some resources to helping like an org like Davenport, you know, like what Elige did, kind of like maybe some some like seminars with players or coaches, you know, just like helping out, showing like doing some exercises and stuff here and there, just kind of like giving them a glimpse of the professional life or the professional process to kind of help them develop. But I don't see anytime soon collegiate or top orgs going to collegiate teams and being like, we want you to be our academy team. Like, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Speaking about, there's another tweet, not article, from Kassad, who mentioned like the NAC needs to set up like an academy league, 8 teams minimum, 4 seasons per year, and there's a land finals. How about that idea? Or is it just
doesn't work in North America?
Doesn't work in North America. That's
there's just not enough teams. Is my thought process on it, just from being like the guy who casts all the stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like who would play in it, right? Like we already have ECL, right? So like, would all those teams play in it, or like would there be an age requirement? Like,
I think the only way they could effectively get an academy league up and running in NA is pretty much entirely removing the age requirement. Because I know with WePlay that's like super restrictive. And obviously you look at EU, it's not like as restrictive because you just have such a large pool of players to choose from. But if you look at NA more specifically, like I think there's probably less than this. I'm completely spitballing here, but like there's probably less than 10 people playing in Premier right now that are 20 and below. And like those, if you look at WePlay's requirements, like you have to be 21 or younger. So like you can't really form a league of 40 players or whatever with when you only have a player pool of like 10 people. So I feel like you'd have to completely throw out the age requirement and almost just like pretty much have it just be like another league, like have it be like another ECL where you're taking super high level teams, you're pretty much giving them what we have at EG, giving them resources, giving them financial support, giving them what they need to like get better and show that they are the next best like talents in the region. I don't know.
At least for the I was gonna say like of like all the realistic ways to fix NA, I think just a smaller tier 2 league could definitely come up. Have you guys been? I'm actually wondering if for the people who are probably watching this, they may not have heard of this, but have you guys seen what EGL Premier is doing?
I have seen a little bit of it, yeah, and I think it's a props to them, honestly, for wanting to have like another. I wouldn't say just a different like tournament organizer in ACS that is actively like making. I mean, from what I've seen on their streams, like the streams look really well produced, and it's just not something that I'm used to.
Shout out to Birdie Box, who is the producer of those streams, by the way.
It really reminds me of like Winners League, if you guys remember that. Like that's what I kind of get from EGL Premier, and it's definitely something that we lack. Because thinking back to Winners League, that was what, like 2019, like early 2020, and I'm thinking back to it, and I was like in advance playing against teams like Singularity in matches, and it's like that is such a huge thing for a newer player to be able to like actually develop. And if we could get more, teams like, for example, like Gaimin, Gladiators, ATK to play like an EGL type event, it would just only help like the bottom baseline get better, as well as offer a decent chunk of change to either of those teams if they end up winning the whole event.
Yeah, those like something that's not just ESL Challenger League, but something where you just play against a much bigger pool of teams in competition as well. I think having it in competition instead of just scrims, folks, is actually like a really, 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 really big deal. So, so I mean, tier 2 tournaments, they can crop up again. I think that's a good summarizing point. But look, I don't think NA can be fixed in one fell swoop, folks. I'm not sure. That's the biggest problem here. There is an article that Munster was interviewed by Dust2.us, a noted journalism organization here in North America, talking about his skill on those Brazilian teams, and saying that we're better than most of them here. That's the quote, or supposedly. Sorry, that's just the Dust2 clickbait, Joe. I can't really shy away from that.
I mean,
what are you
said it
guys?
because I believed it.
Yeah. But what are you guys' thoughts on like at least the how Brazil is currently performing, or what it's like even competing against the Brazilian teams here in North America?
Brazil, just so everybody's aware, like they have a lot of support down there. Like
Oh, yeah.
there's a lot of orgs and there's a lot of like people like we were talking about, like coaches and just more experienced players willing to play on a lower level team and like really develop the talent. So I think that their talent development right now is definitely ahead of NA's. Like they have the financial support, they have the experienced players willing to you know, help people get better and do it in the right way. So it's no surprise that at a lot of these events, like Brazil teams are upsetting and managing to make it in and qualifying. So there's a
They
reason.
have pretty much what NA needs.
Yeah.
Like in terms of support, in terms of like recycling of like experienced players coming in and teaching like young gun fraggers, you know, to you know, like we were saying before, just like give them the knowledge, give them the resources to like just learn and just grow and play at a super high level.
One
I mean,
thing
if you-
that's
Go ahead, Tommy.
I was gonna say one thing that's just like insane about their scene is like every single time like they have a player get called up to tier 1 or like like very like a team just makes like a roster change, like for example like Pain, like there's always just like some 1.3 1.2 rated just star just ready to go every single time.
Yep.
There's somebody just ready to make the call up to the big league.
And then what I was gonna say is like, even you think about looking back at the old god, like not old Godsend roster, but I say old like it wasn't only a year ago, but Taco coming back to make a team with, he's taken a step back from tier 1 CS, playing with people who at the time were like relatively unknown outside of NACS, like Barton, Dumao, Lotto. Even Lotto is like a big question mark, and this guy like turns out to be actually insane in the roles that he plays, and it's like you just don't have that in NA, and you see like what it does for younger players, especially in Brazil. Like Barton, Dumao, especially Dumao. Dumao went from like we've played against him a lot. Like I think all of us can attest to this. It's like Dumao was good. He was insane. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like was never like a player that you thought like, holy shit, this guy could really destroy at a tier 1 level. And I think he's been like pretty much proving that for the last 6 months, really, that he's like consistent, insane player. And it's you don't get that kind of like development pipeline in NA, because it's not like we have players like Taco or like at the same level of Taco that are coming back to teach these young players.
We do now, baby. Santa Swan Rush.
I was actually going to slip into that. Yeah. Taco coming back to play with Barton and Dumao and Lotto is like literally kind of the same thing as Rush and Stan coming back to play with you guys. They're going to teach you guys a lot.
On the same front, like what is it like playing against these teams? 'Cause I know Pain Gaming has gotten a lot of like big shoutouts for. I mean, they're no longer here in NA, but like the Brazilian teams have always gotten big shoutouts as being one of the better teams to practice against or play against in general. What makes them that kind of opponent?
I want to
They just have an amazing style that is like that. They're gonna punish you if you do something bad. If you do something like wrong timing, they are going to find the gap regardless. It does not matter. I don't know what it is that these guys are on. They just always, no matter what, they know where your gaps are, and they will exploit it time and time again, no matter what. And if you're not, actively working to fill in those gaps in the middle of the round, or fill in like those small little details after practice, like, hey, we could have done this better, and X, Y, and Z wouldn't have happened. Those are the type of things that like a player like Big Uzera, he's going to notice all of this go throughout a round, and he's going to make the best play possible because he's just at that level. They just all play like a really fundamentally, I say fundamentally sound, like they won't run at you, but they deep down they do know how to play good fundamental CS, and that's what kind of like makes them come over here and just destroy everybody, because
they have the perfect NA counter style.
Who here plays fundamental CS?
Yeah,
because we don't all the time.
dude, Pain just like their style is just a perfect counter for most NA teams because like they're just super patient and they're always just sitting there waiting for the gap to present itself, and then they also have like such insane individual skill to just like take advantage of that gap when it becomes available. So it's like you'll be sitting in a round and like nothing will happen for like 30 seconds. So you're like, okay, well, I guess we need to get info, and then you're just instant headshot dead, you know, at like ramp on nuke. You just it's so annoying to play against, but it's like you know that they're not doing anything wrong, so like you can't even be mad at it because they're just good. Like they were just our kryptonite when we played against them. Like I think
I hate
our
playing
head to head against them is actually like really bad.
So I kind of have an answer about playing, like the Brazilian teams because I mean we had a decent amount of success against the Brazilian teams. We beat Pain in playoffs I think 2 seasons in a row. We always put them close in like any cash cups, even if I played. We always played MIBR like super close, like going the distance or trading maps and stuff. I think that one of the things that Brazilian teams do like better than anyone in the region is like their cross map communication is just so much like better. Just like they're always willing to just make reactions together, but like individually is the thing. Like Overpass is a map like I just think because we play against so many Brazilian teams on it is like, you know, like Brazilians love to just have a guy like just creep all the way up long A and he'll just be there, and whenever there's just like stuff going on the other side of the map, this guy just peeks for info and just shoots a bunch of people on the side. Like they're just always ready to do things just, you know, together by being grouped or together by literally just communicating across the map and just making decisions fast. And like their whole playstyle always feels like they're trying to control the pace, whether it's, you know, rushing you on like nuke. Like Fury is like a team that will just rush you inner like fucking 10 rounds in a row, and it'll be a different inner rush every time. Like they're always really big on playing with like the pace of the round. Just because like they start it fast doesn't mean they're going to end it fast. Like they are really good at just like pausing in rounds and making you worry about every other thing that can throw the round away, or just, you know, like I was talking about earlier, like they always have star players willing to come up and just, I mean, they're also making like an incredible sacrifice because they come from Brazil, and when they're in NA and they're playing, like obviously they for a long time they've had a lot more resources than the rest of the teams in the region. I would say that they're a lot better practice just because like the way they play together, and probably because, you know, they have chemistry from playing in the region together. Just like they're not also just like playing for themselves. Like that's the thing. Like a lot of these players are coming over, and while they're still like maybe young in terms of like a CS standpoint, like they're all like, you know, 22, 23, 21. Like they're kind of like older guys. Like, and like I said, like they're coming from Brazil, they're playing and they're earning really good money. Like they're trying to, a lot of them I'm sure are trying to help their families back home.
Yeah.
So like they're not just playing for themselves and trying to worry about like how to climb the scene and the tier. Like they want to win tournaments and make majors and stuff like that because they want to be able to help the people that, you know, help them get to where they are now.
All right, guys. We're gonna thank you so much for like asking some questions on EG and obviously some the tier 2 questions. Now I have a couple like laid back ones, so they're not, you're not on the spot, so feel free to answer them as much as you freely as you want. First one I got is who is someone you guys want to play with outside of EG, like a teammate outside of your org?
Simple.
I want to keep mine NA, and it's like 2. It's OC and Floppy. Just been around them for a really long time.
Screw that Floppy guy.
Yeah, I would definitely have to say Floppy, to be honest with you.
I will say someone that I've already played with before. I will say Fang, just because I taught him everything.
And who are you guys closest with in the NA scene outside of EG? Like,
Nobody.
Friends with no one?
I have no friends.
He's a loner.
Old teammates.
Sadly,
I'm
I
just
talk
too
to
old.
Floppy. I talk to Floppy every day.
I mean, it's the
He
same
never
thing.
leaves
for
me alone.
It's just fucking. It's like Floppy and Fang. There's really the only, just the Cole guys really are the only people that I really talk to, and maybe like B Wills every now and then.
I talk to the cool guys and the gaming guys a decent amount, but Floppy's definitely the person I'm closest to.
Everyone in NA's knows each other, so you guys are all pretty freaking close. right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a
Some
lot
of
of us,
us.
we've been playing against each other since we were like, you know, like literally little kids. Like I say like we grew up playing against each other. I mean, it's true. It's we literally did.
Now, there's also this update just happened this week with Tuscan adding to the map pool. What's your thoughts on Tuscan?
Minus Dust 2 plus Tuscan right now, please.
Please.
I haven't
honest-
touched it at all, in all honesty, so I have no clue.
I don't give a fuck about that map. Just
game
bring
for a
old
new
cash. Just bring back old cash. Like that's the only map we need.
I don't
How
care
about-
if it's Tuscan, just get
Nah.
Dust 2 out of the map pool.
How about
I
Old
think-
Cobble?
Yeah.
I
Old,
think
old
it could
cobble's
work.
horrible.
Old
It needs to be
cobble,
reworked.
maybe. New
I
cobble.
think it could. I think it could work in current meta, but Dust 2's just gotta go.
How about
I
Mirage?
think Tuscan could be a good map.
I think season
Honestly.
would be actually good to play.
Tommy, you just said the worst maps. Cash and
No,
season,
cash
bro.
and season, dude. They're made by Inferno.
Those are the
good
most
maps.
basic maps
not Inferno,
ever
those are
made,
made-
bro.
Those are made by Volcano. Those are good maps.
They're too basic. I think Tuscan's like a good balance of like, you know, paths and layers to the map.
Fuck, you guys ever play Militia? The hostage map? That shit is heat.
I'd be down
I
to play
would be
Militia
so
over Dust
down
2,
if we
dude.
could rework
Alright,
Militia and
okay.
get that shit into the map pool. Oh my god.
Alright, what are your thoughts of it? Would it ever happen in a hostage map, an active map pool?
No,
Like-
Definitely not. No chance.
No, we won't.
Please
that'd
no.
be- Please no.
It's too like the thing is it's too one sided when you
Yeah,
do
too-
like
too-
it. I mean, you
two-sided.
literally start in spawn with the guy, like he's just there. They have to rework the system if they were to ever do something like that.
Now with Tuscan, is that ever gonna come in the map pool?
I think it
Wait
might.
and see.
I think it will.
I can see it
chance.
happening.
We have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's,
it's
very
a-
similar to Ancient.
It's
right?
such an awesome run at you map though. It's so great. You can just CT side. You can just go anywhere, wherever. You just go on a map world tour.
That's just
within the
because
first-
nobody knows how to play it right now.
Well, yeah, that is true. But I think that I don't even.
That was the case
timings-
with every map when they was
That
first
is
added.
true. It feels a lot like Ancient, to be honest, though, with the CC side timings. So
Isn't Tuscan pretty much following the same kind of like progression and path that Ancient took? Like it got added to active pool. They did a bunch of like reworks on it based on like feedback, and then
Pretty-
obviously
Was
lo and behold-
Ancient?
Ancient wasn't.
1.6
Ancient
map?
was just added. No, Ancient was just
Yeah,
added
Ancient
into
was
the
brand
game.
new.
Ancient was
an
brand new when they
operation
released it, and
It was an
Tuscan's
operation
old and
map.
reworked.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
it was
That's
added
an
into
old
the
rework.
game, but it wasn't like part of the official pool until they made like a giga rework on it.
Yeah,
Vertigo
Ancient
was
wasn't- Ancient was with
the-
the operation, the last one, and then like it was like missions on that shit to play in that map, and then eventually it got into the map pool.
Vertigo
thing
was just
about-
dropped on us though.
Yeah,
No,
was
Vertigo
just-
was a 1.6 map.
Yeah,
It was
Vertigo
an old
was-
map that got reworked.
Vertigo is-
Tuscan is following the Vertigo path.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Vertigo is always in CSGO, like as like a map you could play. Like it was like a old school, like fuck, well, I don't know what they call
it
that
was
collection.
1.6 or Source. I can't.
But
I didn't play
the
that
thing
game.
about Tuscan is like the map is. I mean, I don't want to say it has a meta because it doesn't like really, but like if people were there around and knew how to play Tuscan, like I'm sure they'll fucking rip on the new Tuscan. Like I used to play Tuscan pugs and like Sivo and stuff like way back in the day. Like
Evo.
I mean it's been around.
I know.
So
I'm down. Bring it in.
Bring it in. How about
For Dust 2,
how-
though. Nothing else.
No Mirage. You're not a fan
Nope,
of that game,
Mirage stays.
I
Mirage
hate
stays.
Mirage
slander,
stays.
man.
Mirage slander, we do not accept
There's
that
so
in this
much
household.
Mirage slander.
Dust
I
2
hate it.
slander is the only acceptable
I'm not a-
slander of any map.
I'm not a Mirage on that. I just think Mirage needs to like get a facelift. But I like Mirage though. It needs a
I think the way you
facelift,
fix
Mirage
Mirage
is
is
just a
you,
good map.
Yeah.
Like the layout is just it works. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't really need much change, to be honest, in my
It's a
opinion.
visual upgrade more. That's my take.
I think we close off
there's a lot
Palace,
you can do on that map.
neutralize Chop.
Palace.
Close off Palace.
That is your suggestion for fixing
Yeah.
Mirage. Close off Palace.
Just make it a little rat hole in the middle of balcony. That's the only way you can get up out.
Yeah,
I'm done.
All right, and my last question before we hit on the recap is what do you guys do outside CS besides grind it 24/7?
Literally
much.
nothing.
Nothing.
Not
Grind CS?
Not much. I'll play like Escape from Tarkov here and there. Maybe I'll watch like TV shows and movies and a little bit of reading recently, but that's pretty much it.
I'm usually a pretty busy body. Like I'm usually like I have to wake up pretty early and go to school, and then I gotta try to come home and coach, and then find time to do the homework, work out, like cook food so I can eat healthy. Like I like to cook, work out, and I actually kind of liked school to an extent, but like having to manage like the stressor of like school and CS is like really fucking hard. Like I really don't know how I was able to. I know how I was able to do it. A lot of caffeine, a lack of sleep for a couple years, like a lot of years.
Yeah, I just cheat off everyone's exams, and I did pretty good. That's my
I didn't cheat. I didn't cheat.
I cheated.
I mean, for me, I don't do much. I mean, well, maybe since I've been home, I've been hanging out with like some of my IRL friends a lot more. Like since we got back from the boot camp and everything. But apart from that, not much. Just CS.
All right, guys. Now, before we transition to the recap, I want to say a couple things. I want to first thank our sponsor, Refrag, for partnering with NartOutHere, and use the code NART for 15% on Refrag. And I also want to congratulate EG again for signing the female team. I want to congratulate, Pika Kiki, Garden, Jessica's, Milk, and Empathy for joining it. And, I love that EG's actually signing a female team, not just, and you can keep promoting the project. I want to give a big props to them as well. Now, we're going to hit on the recap. We're going to move on.
Recent news.
Recent news. There wasn't that much recent news this week.
A lot of people taking L's and Blast, and sorry.
We're not gonna hit. You guys just free ball it. Be as open as you want about it. Have some fun right here. All right. We're gonna first hit on the Blast fall premiere. So we're gonna go over this pretty fast. So
NA's greatest achievement, taking down Na'Vi 16-9, and then getting body bag next time. But we don't talk about that. We talk about the biggest win. That to be honest, is that the biggest win Cole have ever had? Like the players on that team?
I think so.
As a group, maybe, yeah.
We'll start up with Group A. I think it's the only shocker I got from this. First off, did you guys I know it's at a shit time for us since we're NA guys and we're playing it really early in the morning. Did you guys actually see this tournament or like keep?
I have not watched a single Blast game.
I've watched a couple, not a lot, but I have watched a couple.
I pretty much watched every game except for like the opening round, the 7 a.m. Eastern game.
Like on Group A, like was there any shockers you guys saw? The only thing I really saw was like Astralis winning it and then bot.
Yeah, I don't
think Astralis gonna run the gauntlet personally.
This group was kind of weird. I kind of felt like any team, like honestly, could have won it just because like Astralis has looked. It's all BO1s. Astralis has kind of looked weak. NIP's always like kind of 50-50.
Mediocre.
Yeah, OG obviously have a bunch of like new players. Like they have 3 new players basically. Like they don't have a lot of like reps in with their full lineup. Vitality, yeah, just picked up Spinks. So like I think expectation going into the group would be that like Vitality would top it, and they came close. It's kind of like shocking that Astralis did win the group, but good for them. I'm a fan of Astralis, but
Farley had a live game.
They confused me. Yeah, Farley had a live game. I think what actually is underrated is that if you go look at that game, Blame F played really bad, and Farley and Zipnix, the 2 most criticized players on that team, on what would be like Astralis' normal permaban, but obviously they're now playing that map because of Blame. Like they carried. Farley and Zipnix fucking destroyed that map, and Blame actually played really bad.
That was, by the way, I believe that was Farley's, against a top 30 team, that was his 3rd highest rated performance in 2022.
Farley is
time to step up.
Farley's a really good player. He just needs to
continue.
As I say, he just needs to find like the freedom that he's had on other teams. He knows how to get kills and open rounds.
I'll say this is like the Astralis land buff, because they did reverse sweep this, and they kind of just bombed out of the 2
the armor fires.
Yeah, they have a land buff, but when they go online, they just fucking sucked.
Those random CIS teams, they creep up on you.
Oh, I would not want to be a European team playing the European RMRs. That must be brutal.
Yeah. The only giveaway is saying that like Vitality should have won it, but like you said, Sphinx kind of just joined. I don't know how much prep he got with him, so I don't put too much effort on this Group A. But like just Vitality, I think they're gonna, when the tournament goes along, I think they're gonna be way better. That's my giveaway on this. All right, we're gonna move on to this Group B. This is the NA dream right here. With Complexity beating freaking Na'Vi. That was, I woke up to that. That was amazing.
And then they got pounded the next time they played, but we'll not.
No. We talk about the first game. We don't talk about the second game.
I think that's a very big confidence booster for Cole guys, because I think that's like the first map that they've won in like 3 months or something.
Yeah,
crazy.
Against
So
IHC in the major, that was like the last win.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, knowing those players, I know how much it means to them to, you know, finally get a win on the board. Granted, it is a best of one against Na'Vi with no simple, but it's, at the end of the day, it's still Na'Vi. Like, these guys,
I mean, even
it's
without simple,
Na'Vi.
they have like 3 of the top 5
exactly.
players in the
They still have
world.
Electronic, they still have Bit, they still have Perfecto, they have Head Trick, who is arguably
honestly
one of
looked
the best players
good.
in the
He
Academy
looked good.
League. Exactly, like Head Trick is honestly one of like the next big oppers, I think, in like tier 2 EUCS. And then, you know, some Young is just a good solid piece to have. So I think it's definitely very good for their confidence going forward.
Hendrix was also a rifler on his previous teams too, which is also just crazy to think.
He recently made a transition to opping. He is a primary opper now. He was a rifler for majority, but he is an opper now.
Mm-hmm.
It just shows how the Na'Vi system is just it's too strong.
Oh, their pipeline is ridiculous.
Yeah.
They are pumping out ridiculous talents left and right.
We've scrimmed them whenever we were in Europe, I think both times, and like they, like stylistically, they play like a really good style, like the Na'Vi junior team. I mean,
So. And speaking of it, Liquid did pretty good as well. You know, they beat G2, which like G2 this whole event looked like shit. We don't know what's going on with G2.
It's 2 BO1s. It's like it's 2 BO1s.
It's early. That's what I'm going with. But it's G2.
Did,
I can criticize.
Did G2 look like shit, or did JKS play bad?
I think it was JKS.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know if I would go as far as to say G2 looked like shit. I mean, these scorelines were pretty close. Like the games are.
Yeah.
I mean, when the scorelines are that close, like the games always come down to a couple rounds and key mistakes from both sides. Like that game could go either way. JKS had like, you know, a series. I don't think anyone really expected him to play that bad. I mean, it happens. Like I'm sure he's got some new roles and things he's adjusting to. But when they figure it out, like they have a really, really deadly like 4 fraggers that can really figure it out. And Hooksy, you know, Hooksy might not be like the best fragger, but if he can do like, I honestly personally thought they should have gotten like Snappy, but like these Danish IGLs, they don't seem to be fraggers, but they sure are thinkers, that's for sure. So if Hooksy can do like anything near like Snappy, it's a level of just brain on that team, like they'll be really good. And you know, Copenhagen Flames is always a really good teamwork level team. So
it just also goes to show like it's still, like same boat of Vitality. It's kind of early. Like I gotta see G2 do it major wise. That's like a good vision. A couple months. But I'm giving kudos to the NA teams for winning because you know NA. I gotta keep NA strong. But
Yekendar's playstyle fits NA so well.
Oh,
perfect.
Just signed the guy already. And I think Group B was kind of expected. Na'Vi was gonna win it. No shocker here, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a shocker that they won it after losing the opener, because you know they made like the lower bracket run, but you know they're still Na'Vi no matter what.
Yeah, it's still Na'Vi. And then there's Group C, which is kind of still going on right now. Nah, it's kind of over. Whoa, goddamn. Speaking of your. I felt this feel sorry for EG having to literally play against fucking FaZe. Like, come on, like that's just
it's a tough round.
That's a tough freaking it's a tough matchup.
We'll get them next time, guys. We'll get them next time.
Yeah, that's just like the worst first opponent they could possibly get. And I didn't think EG was gonna go, especially on this run against FaZe and like big and heroic, but like this is a tough bracket for them. And I thought FaZe was gonna win it, but.
Oh, I thought FaZe was going to win.
I think everyone thought FaZe would win.
Heroic definitely surprised in the final, for sure.
Yeah. I just love how heroic is just. I think that system, that team is just really good.
I think Yabby is the perfect player to plug into their system. He's a beast. That guy is so good.
I think
Yeah.
Heroic just plays a style that's really hard to like counter or prepare for, because they're very comfortable doing things that just appear to be random. They're really good at switching paces. They're really good at just like not using nades or using a bunch of nades or faking, or
They have like a whole like
they just do everything.
they have
man.
so many different styles that they can
Yeah.
like deep dive into, and it's just hard to
Cadian
counter.
lurk opping, Cadian
Yeah.
entry opping, Cadian just passive
Exactly.
opping, supporting. Like, dude, everybody on their team just does everything.
That's the Cadian way.
Individually, they're just so good too.
Oh yeah. And also the themes of EG. Rush was standing in this tournament, right? This is a
Yeah.
qualify?
Yeah.
So like it wasn't their official full lineup as well. And against FaZe is
No,
tough.
they were not playing with the 5 that they had been boot camping with.
Exactly.
this
So
event.
I don't.
Yeah.
You cannot view them like, oh, they did shit. No, it's not the original 5 they were playing with.
Yeah, they boot camped for like a month, and they didn't even get to play with that 5 that they boot camped a month with. So
Exactly.
it's definitely a rough start for sure.
It's a rough
It's
start in a
unfortunate
hard bracket.
circumstances. Yeah.
In a hard bracket.
Yeah.
Going on this event, like it's way too early to even say who was gonna win it. We're just doing a little rundown of it. But the only shocker I kind of saw was Heroic beating FaZe. Because I thought FaZe was gonna run this group.
Yeah.
That was the only shocker, not the Cole beating Navi.
That I mean,
That was expected to you.
No, the group winners. I meant like for the group winners.
Oh, okay,
that's what I
yeah.
meant. Because obviously Complexity beating Navi, that's the biggest one. But like out of I thought Navi was still gonna win the group no matter what.
I really like
Charlotte's beating Vitality was a bit of a surprise to me too. Honestly, Liquid being in the final for their group was a little surprising. I expected like G2 to get there over Liquid, especially after the Cole Liquid game. How close that was! I was surprised that. Yeah.
Can we also talk about?
Does that mean that Liquid is the second best team in the world? Is that what we're talking here? Or?
I think so.
Maybe.
Well, they third
Via,
place in
probably.
Europe is
via
FaZe number
deductive reasoning.
Yeah.
Can we
Complexity
talk
beat
about
this.
how shitty this event is though? Like how the format is.
It's a
It's
very
odd.
weird format because
It's
like
Very odd.
even,
you don't use
even the
HLTV
losers, right, are in playoffs now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
I mean-
the whole first round was just for seeding. Like, and
Yeah.
now it goes to
it's
the
just
actual
literally
like.
that's it's really weird.
Yeah.
It's odd.
I think the biggest problem with the format is like if you don't use HLTV, how are you expected to understand
Actually-
the
Oh,
format?
I had no
Okay,
idea.
actually, the whole first round being for seeding, I can see how it kind of makes sense, only because we just came off a player break.
That does kind of make sense. You know what?
If we had not just come off a player break and there had been very recent events before this event, then yeah, this format would have
Base
been
take, base
kind of
take.
stupid.
To be
Respect
fair,
the
though, that's how they've been running these tournaments for like I think all of
Ever.
2022.
I just
at the very
refreshed.
least.
I just refreshed the page, so we'll see how it goes right now. We got OG versus Complexity. I won't be shocked.
I actually think Cole can win that.
Yeah, me too. I think they can do it.
Is it a
It's
BO3 or BO1?
It's a
BO3.
BO3.
These
Oh,
are all
it's
BO3s.
BO3.
Yeah.
Hopefully Dexter doesn't fucking rip their arms and legs off.
Exactly.
He is very good.
I still think they can do it.
Yeah, I think
Complexity can
this BO3 rides on Halzerk a lot to
Oh,
find
I
I
out
actually
if,
kind of like
Nah,
these brackets.
I think Floppy's been playing like shit. He needs to step it up.
Well, I'm just saying that just coming from a standpoint that like Dexter is absolutely incredible. So I think if they want to like have a chance to be really competitive and win, I think it rides a lot on Halzerk having a lot of impact. I mean, he showed that he's, a pretty good
Capable.
hopper. So
Oh, he's fucking sick. He's gonna be really good for them when they are able to get a lot more practice under their belt.
I just feel sorry for whoever wins that. You gotta go versus that team FaZe.
Yeah.
And then I don't even think it doesn't matter. I think FaZe still beats Astralis.
Oh, I
I
think
like
FaZe
that.
tops that group no matter what.
Yeah.
Yep.
Agreed.
Yep.
I think
Close one.
Astralis making it to that seeding was
Kinda fluke,
little bit
kinda
of a
fluke.
fluke, just
The
a
land
little
buff.
bit.
The land buff.
It would
Even though-
it would have made more sense if the FaZe and Astralis were swapped in this bracket.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And then we're going to the
Whoa,
next one with G2 versus Big. That's
that's a grueler.
That's
Yeah, this bracket
I
looks
think
fucking
Big, I think
crazy.
Big
I love
will win
watching
that.
Big play.
Big's been
This is-
looking. They've been looking, solid. Especially with
I just
GG making
like
roster changes.
I like Big with Keto on it, so
I do
my heart
too.
tells me
He's been playing
Big
good.
is gonna win that.
I really like Big's map pool, just period. They're a well-rounded team. I think that I think Vitality will win this group, but like if Big like somehow came out to
Navi's
win
winning
it,
with Simple.
oh they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
fine.
okay, never mind.
Simple
Navi's
playing.
winning the fucking group. Navi's winning.
I was like,
Oh
what?
yeah,
See
I
ya.
was like, what are you talking about?
No. Navi's winning. If Simple's playing, Navi's winning.
Yeah, Simple. They said that Simple should be back for this stage. So
if Simple's back, GG. There's no contesting.
Yeah,
No.
they won.
It's just who's Navi gonna play? Probably Vitality. But I'm
probably
Yeah.
Vitality.
yeah.
All right, bottom end of this. What
This
is
is-
it? NIP versus.
EG.
I like
It's-
this group the best. This is the group that's actually like not clear in my eyes.
Do we know if Tim is gonna be back?
Yeah,
for,
Tim is
Yeah,
back
Tim-
for this.
he'll be
yeah.
back.
Dude, I think they could honestly win against Nip.
Nip?
Nip have not
think they can.
like
It-
impressed me that much, to be honest.
We need a nice.
I can see a world where EG make it to the matchup versus Heroic.
I think
could
that's
see it.
definitely realistic.
It is possible for sure.
I think
can see-
versus
I need Tim
NIP,
back.
I think Cirque's gonna have to really step up because NIP don't have a traditional operator. Like Esatag is a he can play the role, but he's not a star in that role, and Cirque is a star. I think that's like a series for Cirque to like just display dominance and be aggressive, and if he can do that, I think they'll beat NIP.
Like I think if EG does beat NIP, which if they have Tim and he plays, so all relies on that too. Like if they could beat Liquid,
I think
matchup.
Liquid has not shown that they are as good as everybody thought they would be with Yukindar at this event so far.
Yeah.
I think they're
It's
okay.
it's also a domestic like rivalry as well, like Liquid and EG. Like you just think Breeze and Cirque, these guys have been playing against, Elige, Nitro forever now, and it's like there's domestic matchups are always like pretty random, I'd say. Like any team could win those, I feel. So
It's a lot more mental in those games. I feel like always. I mean,
agree.
even at the last, I think it was at the last RM. Was it RMR or was it for Dallas? EG played Liquid, and it was like a surprisingly close series.
I think it was like the close qualifier for Dallas
Yeah.
or something.
EG just like absolutely destroyed them on a map in the BO3, and it was like nobody expected it.
And
So,
this is
never know.
This would be the toughest bracket right here, the last one.
Well, Heroic doesn't have refresh, so NA wins. It's as simple as that. There won't be a 1v5.
Sure.
They're just. I hate to break it. I hate to break it to you, Danish fans, but no, no refresh, no win. That's just simple as that.
Is there anything?
There
else
is like, there's like a weird tiebreaker section for this whole bracket, which is just like odd. Again, there's 3 stages of this whole thing. Like, why don't we just all qualify together and live happily ever after? But
I'm pretty sure the tiebreaker stage is for the teams that make the final but lose.
yes,
And then
and
it's
the people who
second
lose in round 2.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
'cause then
sure.
those teams then play each other for the last 3 spots at the.
Yeah, so Liquid is like, for example, Liquid is guaranteed a tiebreaker. Basically,
Yep.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
A little bit of a wonky format.
Yeah, it's
before-
odd, but it's interesting.
Before we move on to the next topics, I'm just gonna circle back to complexity and the Dexter matchup. The power of the mullet has to prevail right here over Dexter. Halzark needs to freaking and his damn mullet have to overburden Dexter.
Haldark looked good.
Yeah, he did.
He's got it in him, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
It's just like if it fits, if his style or if the way he plays fits into like an NA system. That's really what it comes down to.
I think to give him the freedom.
We'll see what happens.
All right, next.
We haven't
topic-
seen enough of complexity to know for sure
Exactly.
if he's that piece for them.
I will always want to wish NA teams to win though. Doesn't matter
Of
if
course.
it's from everyone, because we're damn Americans here. All right, the next topic
Gotta
we're gonna hit on is some of the Road to Rio stuff. We're not gonna go full in depth only because we're gonna hit
A lot
EU
of
really
matches.
fast. It's a lot. It's a shit ton of matches. We're not gonna go break it down piece by piece.
Astralis Omegalol.
I think that's the biggest one. Is Astralis
Dude,
losing.
every time it would be like 11 o'clock at night, and I'd open Twitter and I would see people talking about Astralis losing. I'm like, what? Like, how is this even possible?
They struggled against like Brandenburg's like shooters before they lost.
Yeah, the round.
Yeah,
before.
no, the
Yeah.
22-18
They were
game,
down
the
big.
double
Yeah.
OT.
They were just
I was gonna say, I think the biggest shock in the qualifiers is how good that Falcons team looked. Falcons actually looked really, really well rounded
yeah.
with
Mhm.
like a
They're
brand new
good.
lineup. Probably
even
not a
on
lot of
paper,
practice.
Falcons look sick. Like, I'm not actually surprised that they played well because, like, if you just look at their team, like, that's a sick team.
For sure, it's just they had to kind of throw it together like last minute. Like obviously
It's true,
the report came out, Masuda was likely to be joining EG. It just makes you wonder like how much better they can get with more time and practice.
and NBK
Maka's
is
just
calling
so
this
good.
event, and their NBK's calling.
NBK's the IGL now.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, that makes
I mean,
sense.
That's a huge.
Mako's always been
adjustment.
insane.
He's so
Haji's
good.
always been
Haji's
insane.
also really good.
Haji is
I'm pretty
insane.
sure Maka was the IGL op beforehand. I think, but he's traditionally not an IGL.
And also,
I could be wrong about that.
It's good to see some French CS coming back alive.
Yeah, that scene is really. It's actually really deep. It's a little shocking to see Shocks go to Apeks, but I mean, they had a good amount of players that, if willing to like move down, they could have really done some damage in like the tier 2, going back into tier 1 scene.
Who else made it? Okay, Sprout. I think Sprout looked really good in general. Well,
Who's on
Sprout
Sprout these
fries,
days?
dude. That lineup fries, bro.
Refresh
Yeah,
is like a
Refresh is on.
first time.
Oh yeah, refresh.
IGL.
Yeah, the IGL now. Yeah.
Refresh, Siphon, and Slacks is pretty dangerous trio.
Yeah.
Monks is really good too.
Can't believe
Who else?
refresh is IGL. Like, that's crazy.
Who else we got? They got Team Falcons we talked about. Mouse, even with their performance playing from Cologne, they looked really good. OG looks good.
Wait,
Aurora Gaming.
What do you mean even with their performance?
Oh, they're doing good.
They weren't They weren't boot camping.
but they were
Gotcha.
playing good. They played good during Cologne.
Yeah,
Like, it's good to see it to push on to the RMR. That's what I was going
yeah.
with.
I was gonna say they looked they look pretty
Yeah.
good. I actually really like seeing like their young team because it's just it's a good like their academy team. Literally, like 3 of their players, or 2,
And we got
3 I think. Torzi,
and we got-
BMAS, and JDC all are like really young and developed by Mouse.
And we got some of that CIS teams always advancing.
CIS mix, they're just always
Yeah.
dangerous every time.
I'm getting a little worried for some of this. There's still 2 more qualifiers for the EU, but like there's a lot of teams that they have. It's a brutal in EU.
Yeah.
There are
Very
look
cutthroat.
there's an infinite like army of CIS mixes. Astralis ain't getting through. Sorry, folks.
I think so.
There's
Yeah.
This is going to be the first major Astralis misses, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Since like 2016 or 2017.
That would be tragic if they actually.
That
Well,
would be
since-
insane.
I know hasn't Zipnix attended every single
Every
hasn't
single
the
one.
Yeah.
he's attended every single one.
Let me see.
Like main stage too, not like challenger
Yeah.
challenger stage either. So I mean, well, not even making the RMR would be pretty bad.
You know what that means? That just brings room for them to get device back.
Yo,
And his $1 million price tag.
literally just
It's
trading
six
millions of
figures,
dollars.
not 7.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Oh, 6.
like just
It's a 6-figure buyout.
I saw that on Twitter as well.
Oh,
If
sorry,
device
it's
rejoins
999.
Astralis,
Yeah, it's $999,000 buyout.
Exactly.
they have a lot of potential to do damage with device on their roster.
Let's see how this.
Not
EU
seeing him
is
play
going.
for how long has it been? Like 8 or 9
Yeah.
months now.
Pretty much
Basically,
half the whole year.
almost a year.
Yeah.
About like 9 months is kind of just crazy. Like he's so fucking good. Like he, not even being an opera, like he's just pure eye candy to watch in this game.
Like so
He's an
far,
absolute perfect player.
In this EU one right now, we got K23
Other one's better.
CIS. 1 win. I think 1 win's
CIS as well.
CIS as well. I think
I
4
think
is
it's-
in advance. It's just so much.
K23 is, it's kind of cool to see them doing well because obviously they just lost like their IGL.
Yeah. And then we have Fnatic. Oh, I just want them to come back.
I want to see
they're
Fnatic.
fine.
do good.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
thought they were looking
look
just
good.
fine. They had to play against Falcons and they lost a 16-14 BO1. Like that's
Yeah.
not bad at all.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of time before Fnatic is like actually
they're
really good.
That's a top 10 team right there. That's my opinion.
They definitely have it in them.
Fnatic, yeah.
I disagree.
They have it in them, but
They do.
it's gonna take some work.
The big one I kind of see struggling is Entropic.
Dude, Entropic it confuses me because when they, well, this will be like the second major in a row now if they don't make this one, and obviously losing Lackey is, you know, they upgraded a lot by getting Mir, however you say his name properly. Mir. He's a madman in terms of fragging power, but I just like I never thought Lackey was terrible when you actually watched him play. Like he always passed the eye test, so it was a little confusing to me to see that he was the person that they replaced because he did every role on that team that nobody else wanted to play, and I thought he did it really well. So that's like kind of a big piece to lose, that type of player for any team. So if Entropic don't make it, like, and Lackey does, because obviously Lackey's on that other team that just qualified for the Aurora just qualified for the RMR. You know, I mean, I think he's a really valuable player. I was surprised to see him go out of the lineup, but it made sense from like a statistical standpoint.
With like, dude, this is seeming so loaded. You have Astralis in there. You have Heat, the other French team. You can keep going, name it all as much as you want. The Eyeballers, you have Gaimin Legion look pretty good. Entropic.
You just have
I just want I want to see Finest make it to the RMR.
Finest into the breach.
The format, it works for all of these teams. Like they're just all underdog teams, and they're playing BO1s. So it's just like it's just setting them up to upset teams like Astralis.
And then Movie Star Riders too. Movie Star, sorry. Like, it's gonna be a brutal fest for you, and we'll see if Astralis do bomb out. Like, this is like, do you buy a device after that?
Yeah,
100%.
Yes. You should buy him now, whether you can use him or not.
You need him. We're gonna move on off the EU one. We're gonna go to the Americas.
Team 1. What? They lost to Carry Esports.
I think Team 1 just need more time.
Okay.
I think it's just way too early for them. I mean, BO1s are already random as it is, and then going into it with, you know, having or bringing back, you know, Malbs, and then it's just a different roster now.
Don't you think pound for pound though they should be beating like a
100%?
Team, like
they should be. But, you know, things happen in BO1. Sometimes you get randomly eco'd. Sometimes people have life games in BO1s. It just happens.
I also feel like Team 1 is one of those teams that are kind of notorious for being upset in these open qualifiers. But then
I agree with that as well.
You put them in a BO3 format and they, you know, look like a completely different team. So
BO1s are hard, man. They're very hard to
I
like
can tell you from experience. we have lost in day 1 of a Cash Cup here and there, so
yeah,
we know what it's like, the pain.
I've seen you guys lose in day 1 of a Cash Cup, so don't worry about it.
All good.
It's like it's also like a mentality thing, right? Like if you're Team 1 and you're going into this matchup, you're not expecting a challenge, right? So it's like you're kind of loose going in. You're not really taking the first few rounds maybe super seriously, and then like suddenly you're just like
you're down like 7-1 or something because you're
what's happening? Our economy sucks. The other team's hitting some crazy shots. Like what do we do? Like people are starting to like stress a little bit. You know, it's like. Yeah, that's the thing about these BO1s is like you kind of just like have to go in full focus right from the start, even against lower tier teams, because you just never know what's going to happen.
We talked about the North American qualifier, the first one. ATK didn't make it. Weren't able to play the first one, and EG. Like, do you think that's gonna have an effect the EG lineup, or you guys, or they're confident they're gonna make it the next 2 qualifiers?
Have you seen the NA qualifiers?
You never know.
I have no doubt in my mind that they'll make.
Yeah, but
they're playing against
they're playing against Russian CIS tier 2 teams. True. You know, EG is gonna come back and they're gonna play against Joe Schmo in intermediate, so it's like not the same thing.
boys, but Strife is still in the tournament. Like, come on, it can still happen.
Yeah, but there's 2 spots.
True.
That is true. They're actually.
I mean, I think it'll be ATK and EG.
EG,
yeah.
And to finish it off, who's gonna finish the third one off?
Probably
Like
Team One.
Team 1, and then insert.
Honestly, that gives some
Premier
an
team.
advanced team or low level premier team to
Strife.
sneak in. And
Maybe
That
Brazen
could be
Strife.
it would be super interesting to see an advanced team make it through.
I think it's just all dependent on the seeding. In all honesty, like
But-
Yeah, true.
it could be
Like
super
Strife are basically like they should make it through, but I mean
Seeding
there's a
gets
chance.
fucking fucked.
It's
I
kind of
want-
crazy
I
how
want Brazen to make it through.
it's kind of crazy
I do
how
too.
just like a couple Brazilian teams leaving the region just like changes everything. Like
Yeah, it
there's no
does.
godsend, there's no pain anymore. It's just like
MIBR
it's
here
like
to
open,
MIBR.
like it's literally open for anybody to make. MIBR
Yeah.
as well, yeah.
And we're gonna look at the South American bracket. We're gonna hit that.
South
right now.
South American bracket is cutthroat
It's
as hell.
brutal.
I know,
Yeah,
it's
Nine-
brutal.
very brutal down there.
Like 9Z lost in a round of 32. Like
I mean, we were talking about it earlier. It's just like they just have
Their
like,
depth is
the
just
better
way
pipeline.
deeper.
Yeah,
Like
there's
who
just
made
better
it so
teams
far?
down there.
Pain, MIBR,
Pain-
and 0 Nation.
Pain washed everybody, dude. Pain.
I think
just-
That was
They're
expected
looking
though.
good with their new roster.
yeah. I mean,
And-
there are
And Fluxo
two new
just-
players.
We talked about them last week. That how Fluxo looked really good. Like on paper, that team could be better than every other team in Brazil. They almost freaking made it with Phelps and
that team will
William Gibson.
100% make it through the next
yeah.
the next couple. And
100%.
that team is way too individually skilled to not make it.
Who's even left? Because MRBR 9Z or sorry, MRBR Pain and
9Z
0-0.
Sharks is left.
0-0 made it, so
0-0.
9Z and Fluxo.
Sharks.
9Z, Fluxo, Sharks. Those are like the three teams that I would say.
I guess-
Yeah.
Really good.
Isurus, I suppose.
Luck,
They're not
though.
that
I
good.
didn't even
I
see
don't- I
that
don't
team
think they're
formed
new.
until the game ended.
I don't think the new Isurus roster is going to be
I don't think it's good.
that good.
I've had the chance to watch them, and they were is all over the place. So, yeah, but I think like there's a bunch of interesting favorites who could easily make the major. So
Yeah. And it's, in the Americas, it's a little more, you have the third qualifier. So I think the big favorites are going to make it. And then the third one, you're going to get one of those random teams that are going to push it through.
Give me Brazen.
Give me
Brazen at the RMR, please.
All right, and lastly, right before we're going to hit on the not fully Vision League, but the Asian one. The only thing is I'm going to hit it really fast because no one really follows it. It's kind of a dead scene. The only thing is Tyloo going to make it?
I think Rare
Who
Adam's
knows?
gonna do it.
I think
I'm
IHC
sure.
will make it, to be honest.
There's a lot of teams in the
Oh, wait,
Asian
no, they're
scene
in the
right
thing
now
already.
that are just like kind of even.
That's like the question. I think Ray Adam takes over Tyloo. We get
I've never followed the Asian scene, so
Exactly.
I have no clue. So
Me neither. I just want to hit on it really fast. That's all.
Like,
I'll
Winged
take whatever
Up is
team Bent sets
decent. Rare Adam is decent. Like Tyloo is decent. Like all these teams are like around the same level. So honestly, any one of them could take it. Like
The
if you
only
go
reason-
back through any of their match histories, like they are all just trading games off of each other. Like they all win and lose against each other. So
The only thing I want to say about this region is because like the rumor is like after Rio, there's gonna be like another event, like an IEM event, and then the next one's gonna be like a China major. That's in the view in the future. So you kind of want to see the China scene kind of pop up a little because that'd be.
I say IAM China is scheduled for the end of the year.
Yeah, that's December. I was talking about the next like two
A
majors.
major.
Yeah, that'd be huge for them. That's the only reason why I'm bringing it up.
that'd be insane to see a major in China.
Oh yeah. All right, now we're gonna hit home base a little. We're gonna hit on a little sad news. With it's you guys are competitors, but the Gaimin Gladiators they qualified for the RMR, and then like the next day they just broke up. The organization just dropped them. What's your guys' take on this?
I don't
I
know
mean,
anything that happened
I don't
between them and their
either.
work, so I don't know anything.
I think it's the perfect time to leave your org though. To be honest with
For
you, 'cause
real.
you're
Yeah.
setting yourself up perfectly. You know, like you just
doesn't-
qualified for the RMR.
They didn't leave the org. The org dropped them. It makes no sense for the org to really do that, knowing that they're going to the RMR and that like they have a chance to get stickers in the game. Didn't really make sense. But I know Carson was like their point of contact, so
Didn't
I guess that's what
didn't they-
happened.
Doesn't it quote in the article that the org
With Dota.
is shifting more on their Dota team. I know their Dota
Yeah.
team is really
Dota
good.
team is
Their
really
Dota team's
good.
really
That
good.
was
Yeah.
all-
Their
Always
Dota team
their-
is top 15 in the world.
Yeah, they
That
qualified
was their
for TI,
intention
so-
always. Gaimin was actually one of the orgs that had
Yeah, it's
reached
right
out to
there.
us when we were party astronauts, but they had always made it clear that Dota was like their main focus.
Yeah,
so I mean,
even
that
like
makes sense.
they're a genuinely like a good org in a lot of different games. Like I know when their R6 team is
Don't they have a
has
Rocket
just
League
made
They
playoffs
have
at
a
the
Rocket League
major.
team too, yeah.
The Rocket League team is good.
They're
Like
at Worlds.
yeah, like they're
Well,
shit. They're good. They have an
let's
org
say-
with good teams.
don't say they're Oregon in a good org in other games. They were a good org anyways. I mean, they paid their players. They helped them get to events. They did support them, whether they re-signed them or not. I mean,
Yeah, but they're
They were a good org.
class in other games.
Yeah.
In those 3 titles, their teams are qualifying for the biggest tournaments of the year in their
Yeah,
respective games. So
they have a lot of winners in other games.
yeah,
It's just I just find it strange that like they just dropped them at the weirdest.
it's
freaking
an
time.
odd time. It's an
Yeah.
odd time
Worst
to
time.
drop your team, but
Could have been a good chance for them to make some sticker money. But
Yeah.
more to the players, I guess. Hopefully everything works out for them. I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
it's it's a great opportunity for them. So hopefully they can do something cool and make some money.
I'm pretty sure Norweg's not pick them up because if they do qualify, which they have a good shot, it's NA. They could qualify. A good
They have a
org
good
will
chance.
pick them up. Have a good shot. Yeah. The next one. Anything else on Gamer Gladiators?
Nope.
We're all good.
I mean,
on
other than they're a really good team. It's just if they can go to this event looking strong or not. Like if they can go there looking strong, like they can make any team mad enough to win a series.
LIVEEVIL's first LAN.
The power of the keyboard.
I don't know, man. This is Brendan's first LAN.
Is it? Yeah, basically,
LIVEEVIL's
it's
first
basically
LAN ever.
it's basically Georgia's too. So it's gonna like a frag or two.
I just want to see Danny drinking some Bud Light on cam.
Name their team NA's finest. Get some stickers. Get out. No questions asked. Doesn't elaborate. I'm hoping for it.
I'm hoping.
I'd put some sneaky stickers on my Negev.
If CXCI and Sneaky pull up double opping on LAN, they got a good chance.
All right, we're gonna move on to the next topic of gaming gladiators. I hope they find that team because I like Danny. All right, move on. With one tap, they also dissolved their Evolve feasible plan for the plan of the ESL Challenger League side. Is there any takes on this?
It's just
Sucks.
confusing.
Stuff happens. Yeah.
yeah,
Same
I
shit
think it's
happens.
confusing because they put in so much work for the advanced season. Like I know those guys were grinding really hard, and they I mean, it seems like they completed their goal of like making Premier, and then just to like almost like stop right before your like goal is meant to start. It's kind of like odd to me, but I'm sure they all have their reasons. They're all reasonable
Yeah.
people, so
Yeah.
Just the timing.
yeah.
Sad to see Snakes also just gotta go orgless too, because like man, the guy literally just came back to competing. So
Yeah.
the person who was supposed to take every tier 1 player's job.
Yeah, like 5 years ago.
Yeah, 5
Is
years
it?
ago. Yep.
Thanks to the beast.
Is there anything else on one tap before we move on? It's last minute stuff, so
I don't think
Yeah.
so.
yeah.
I don't know.
All right. And the last one we're gonna hit on. is,
Final topic.
Final topic is Apeks looking to take over the Fragadelphia 17. They're invading our homeland right now.
I think it's fucking.
Hey man, all I'll
We'll
say is
show
EU
up.
tried last time and they failed. So
Look, they sent out their academy team. They couldn't finish it up, so they have to bring out the big guns to get the job done.
This is, in my opinion, because I know we were talking about like what we need to, help the.
This
tier
is
2
the
team.
start.
This is exactly what we
need.
need. Like we need tournaments that are marketable to the point where European teams are coming over and are trying to play. Because like,
yeah,
you think of the like obviously NA teams going to Europe and like being able to play in those big lands, those big tournaments is like a huge accomplishment and a benefit. But like in reality, the biggest benefit of NA teams going there is to practice. Like that is the main like benefit because you're just sitting there getting to practice against the best teams in the world for a week, 2 weeks, or whatever however long you're there. So I'm very excited for this. Honestly,
Yeah, this is definitely a really good start for that exact thing. But the only thing is that Fragadelphia is not that kind of event that like an E team comes over and like boot camps for, So it's like we need to like this is a great start, but we need to up it more so that teams are like more EU teams are saying like, okay, let's get there like a week, 2 weeks early, and that way the NA teams that are here can actually like get that practice against them.
You're telling me that EU teams don't want to scrim against LGG Snakes? Then are you kidding?
They can scrim against us, man.
It's okay, come on. But like, look, MVG is gonna just absolutely wash them. You already know. So.
Oh, it would be hysterical if these guys
Droid versus Shocks on land.
Just get murked by some random bug team.
Oh,
that'd be so funny.
With the frag names too. It's just like with frag team names as well.
Yeah.
Just like that'd just be too perfect.
Yeah.
Do you think like more like EU teams are gonna like do these type of events, like more frags, more like NA events like this? Like academy teams.
I think this is like the
the
blockbuster one. Oh, voice crack, but this is like the blockbuster team that's coming over, and I think that's going to definitely incentivize more tier 2 teams to come over.
They're like, to be honest, they're like a genuine like top 30. They should be a top 30.
Oh, that roster is.
This team has the potential to like be a top 20 team. And
Knock is one of the most underrated players I've ever seen come out of Sweden and EU. Honestly, like when he played like Tier 1 CS, like I think people were too harsh on him because I always thought he was pretty good.
You got.
Well, didn't he get replaced by
too.
Device?
Yeah, he got replaced by Device, so
what
it's not like
do?
exactly.
What can you do when you're getting replaced by one of the best players of all time?
But he kind of fell off the grid after that. Like
yeah,
it was weird that like he wasn't able to get a lot of like strong chances. I always thought he was good enough for it. And then obviously like they just have Jake and Sticko Shocks now.
Yeah,
they're in prime position, like you said, to be a top 30 team.
First off, they have to qualify for the major.
True.
That's true.
They have fallen flat in the first 2 qualifiers.
All right, guys.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird.
They also have to qualify for Frag itself, so we'll see. Maybe they get knocked out.
They have to run the real gauntlet in the LCQ.
I mean, they genuinely might be playing against some really good teams in the LCQ. Like, I'm not sure, but Team 1 might be in there, so I'm not sure.
Boy.
Right,
anyhow, guys. First off, I want to thank all you guys for attending this podcast episode, joining us, talking about you guys, the EG lineup, talking about Tier 2. I want to thank everyone here first, so thank you guys, and thank the EG.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you to the EG org as well. I want to also congrats the female team one more time for EG signing the female team to compete in ESL Impact. And lastly, I want to call out our sponsor Refrag. Use the code NartOutHere. Use the code NART to improve your game and train like a pro and play like a pro. Bye. You have it.
All right. Oh, yeah, this is what I do professionally here for the Nart Out Here podcast. This has been CS Out Here episode 12 with the EG guys. Shoutouts for them for coming on out, and wherever you were watching from, whatever time you're watching from, maybe you're watching this 6 months in the future. Who darn knows? Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to Nart Out Here. Peace.